Sacre bleu, where is Mimima?
You know, every time a new Sonic game is announced, you can always hope for some sort of new advertising campaign to convince you that this time, Sega and the folks at Sonic Team are serving up a game that is above the usual 5 out of 10. This can come in the form of commercials, live streams, and even animated shorts on YouTube. However, you see the title of today's video. Sega has had a large history in comics not tied to the big three. These comics serve only one big purpose, to incite you to buy the latest game. We have a good list of comics to look at, so let's take a look at the promotional comics of Sonic the Hedgehog. In the beginning, Sonic the Hedgehog got his first comic outing via a 16-page story released in the fall of '91, written and illustrated by Francis Mao. After smashing some badniks in Green Hill Zone, Sonic gives the critters his backstory, detailing how the kind-hearted Dr. Kintobor transformed into the evil Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Kintobor had gotten all the Chaos Emeralds, these mysterious gems that attract all the evil forces in the world, and store them inside themselves. Kintobor plans to destroy them, Sonic gets his powers via a treadmill, and Kintobor becomes Robotnik with a little help of some dangerous emerald energy and a hard-boiled egg. Other than that, the comic follows a similar pace to the Japanese Sonic 1 manga, which I did take a look at back in my old video. Overall, this is a pretty enjoyable read. It's interesting to see how there are some minute details that this version of the Sonic Bible origin story compared to Fleetway's interpretation of the events, such as how the emeralds contain all the evil in the world, and the rotten egg in comparison to the hard-boiled egg. Also, that Kintobor design. Bro really thinks he's Albert Einstein. It's also kinda cool seeing early art of these characters, such as Robotnik not wearing glasses, and Greg Martin and Francis Mao's interpretation of the titular character. They're wonderful, yet amateurish at best. A solid adaptation of the first game. Released in December of 1992, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 would receive a strategy guide in Japan. This guide features a short comic in which Sonic crash lands onto West Side Island, with Tails hiding behind the tree Sonic lands in. Love how menacing he is in this panel. Tails shows off his ability to fly, and Eggman lands onto the island to cause some chaos. So Sonic and Tails are off to stop Eggman once and for all. It's short and sweet, and that's all I can really say. The illustrations look similar to the 1993 Korokoro Sonic manga, and this little guide even includes an interview with Yuji Naka. I would read it, but I don't know Japanese. It's pretty cool that they even decided to make an introductory comic and a strategy guide of all things. But now it's time to switch location once again to Europe with France, and how they handle adapting Sonic and Knuckles in a similar fashion. In 1994, the world would be graced with a French gaming guide, Sonic and Knuckles, Le Guide Ultime, another strategy guide, this time for Sonic and Knuckles. Outside of the various game tips that I can't read, this also features a short comic of its own. Sonic and Knuckles travel through Mushroom Hill Zone to save Amy from the literal clutches of Dr. Robotnik, but that's later revealed to be a flashback of sorts, as Sonic and Knuckles are looking over a picture album, reminiscing over their previous adventures. The story later cuts to the two playing games on a Sega Genesis. Sonic opens a closet and gets bombarded by a bunch of Sega Genesis cartridges. It's a really confusing story that kinda just drops the whole adaptation thing at the end and decides to do its own thing. It's cool to see more illustrations by the team behind the French Sonic comic. Their artwork is pretty impressive and expressive. But that's really it. Eye candy. Nothing of substance to note. And I tried my best to understand what was going on, but I'll leave it at that. No more looking into comics done in a language I can't understand. Archie Comics. It seems like every time I talk about this blue hedgehog, this thing somehow makes its way into these videos. Now, in the beginning, Archie adaptations would usually try to weave the game's storyline with the pre-existing Archie canon, which would ultimately leave mixed results. However, 2006 would be a turning point in Archie, with Sonic Rush being the last game to incorporate Archie's adaptation procedure. It's so far removed from its source material that it doesn't even resemble the game it's supposed to be adapting. The Ian Flynn era of the Archie comics would set game stories in another place, another time, where these story adaptations would happen outside of the Archie canon, and usually end with a small advert telling you, hey, go buy our game. There are a bunch of these stories, so I'm only going to be covering some of the more interesting, another time, another place stories. In 2007, Sonic and the Secret Rings would release for the Nintendo Wii. If you had purchased the game at Target, you would receive a motion comic based off of the game, Sands and Speed, written by Flynn and illustrated by Yardley. This comic would eventually make its way into physical form via Sonic Select Volume 9. It's a simple introductory comic that focuses on Sonic and Shara just conversing about Sonic's friends. 2013's Sonic Lost World received its own comic, but rather than be released as some sort of digital comic, it was released exclusively as a Halloween Confest 2013 title. This prequel comic is illustrated this time by newcomer Ryan Jampol, and yeah, the ball is dropped pretty hard on this promo comic. On top of that, it just recounts the introduction of the game, by verbatim. The final comic we're looking at is the Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed comic. An entire issue of Sonic Universe was dedicated just to this game. Sonic & Co., along with Danica Patrick, are all ready to race, but Eggman shows up to ruin the fun. So it's a race to the finish. Everyone works together just to keep him in last place, and the race is won. Overall, the Another Time, Another Place stories know what their purpose is, and it's pretty detrimental in the grand scheme of things. Outside of the Secret Rings promo that at least tried to add some depth into its story, all the other stories were just pretty basic and lived up to tell the reader to just buy the game. Well, with Archie long and gone, Sonic promo comics didn't have a place to call home. But that didn't stop Sega from releasing a 4-part prequel webcomic. While the story itself was created by Sonic Team, all the dialogue was made by Ian Flynn and art by Adam Bryce Thomas. The prequel comic starts with a soldier teaming up with the Chaotix to fight against an incoming Eggman attack. But he soon realizes that he is not built for this at all. He soon sees an opening at Eggman's airship, he takes a shot at it, and saves the day. Issue 2 is all about Team Dark, and Omega is just tearing through one of Eggman's bases, and doesn't look like he's going to be stopping anytime soon. So Eggman sends Infinite and shuts him off. With Omega's signal down, Shadow goes to investigate. Issue 3 sets us high in the sky with Knuckles. Silver warns Knuckles that something is going to happen tomorrow, and Chaos pulls up to beat the two of them senseless, and in a blink of an eye, he's gone. Eggman watches the whole time from the sidelines and thinks that the Phantom Ruby is so powerful that he doesn't need the almost limitless power of the Master Emerald, which is left perfectly unguarded, by the way. The final issue shows how Eggman and Infinite teamed up, and how Eggman even found the Phantom Ruby right at his front door. Okay. While Eggman is studying the Ruby, Infinite and the Jackal Squad pull up, but one hit of the Phantom Ruby and Infinite just goes along with Eggman. While the first two stories are nothing to write home about, these last two have pretty flimsy plots. Infinite switching sides comes out of nowhere, and Eggman just leaves the Master Emerald. Is he stupid? Sonic Team wouldn't be responsible for their next adaptation, as a new publisher would take the rights to make Sonic comics. IDW Sonic and the Team Sonic Racing one-shot. October of 2018 brought us the TSR one-shot, written by a new writer we haven't heard of, Caleb Goldner, with art by Adam Bryce Thomas. And I know, while I may have criticized the Archie stories for feeling corporate, this is the epitome of a corporate comic. Sonic and friends race, but to add on that, the dialogue is just painful to read. They just say various game mechanics and moves in an inorganic fashion. Eggman gets bombed and everyone just keeps on racing. This is one of the worst comics I've ever read. The substance is non-existent and the dialogue is just pretty bad. Can IDW save themselves with their most recent adaptation? Only one way to find out. Sonic Mid-Tiers brought back the digital comic format in a 2-part prologue titled Sonic Frontiers: Convergence. Written by Flynn once again and illustrated by Evan Stanley, this adventure stars Sonic, Tails, and Amy as they battle Eggman's Badniks. Sonic, however, suspects something is off. The trio find out that it's just a distraction, and they gotta head to the Starfall Islands. Back on the Starfall Islands, Eggman is planning something with a mysterious AI voice running some of his operations. The comic ends with Eggman about to take a crack at the ancient technology. Frontiers Convergence. It's alright, it's a decent jumpstart into the story of Sonic Frontiers. It's also pretty short too. All the action is at the start and I don't know what's going on at the end. It's not a crash and burn like TSR, it's on par with Archie's adaptations. Well, there you have it. A short but sweet list of comics that hopefully incited you to buy Sonic products. Too bad it didn't work for me. These comics did vary in quality, but I liked how creative they were in including these with various Sonic games like the strategy guides, or even a whole motion comic. The stories may not be certified hood classics or master classes in Sonic comics or writing in general, but you can at least admire the effort in promoting Sonic the Hedgehog. Thanks for watching this video. Support me in any way possible by clicking
cornball ass up, you bum ass nigga. Didn't mommy call you to tell you to clean the